Right, a very warm welcome, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to join us for today's session uh, on this very interesting topic, how to influence anyone by understanding their personality types. So before we start, as usual, I would like to remind everyone to actually go down to the right-hand side of your screen, right-hand corner of your screen, and open up the Q&A section. If your Q&A section is not open yet, there is a little blimp on the top with the question mark on it. So you click onto that blip and you open up the Q&A section. And in that section, there is the links for you to follow us on social media, VLAN Asia, on Facebook as well as LinkedIn. If you haven't done so yet, you can actually do that. And throughout the session, if you have any questions regarding to the topic for today, you can drop your questions in the Q&A section over there, and we will take them throughout the session, okay? So that's the first reminder. And then the other reminder is that at the end of the session, we would like you to actually give us your feedback. So there will be a QR code that we will share. And also to join the next session, there will also be another QR code that you can actually scan and register for the next session, and we will send you the link through email. Well, so without further ado, let me introduce you to today's speaker. He is an independent writer, content strategist, and market authority builder. He is also a passionate teacher who has coached over 1,000 high-achieving students. His proudest moment was when his 9-year-old student received her award for completing pre-U level English literature. As a writer, over half his original digital content has gone viral, and he has ghostwritten several well-praised books. As an authority builder, he has helped senior government leaders and C-suite develop compelling thought leadership content. His own thought leadership content has received strong praise from industry experts in Malaysia and around the world. He is a strong believer that Malaysia has massive potential. His dream is to unlock that potential by telling stories of world-class Malaysians to inspire fellow Malaysians. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. Lai Chi Sing. Hi, Chi Sing. Yeah, your mic was muted.
Hi, Norman. Thanks so much for that introduction. And just want to say a warm welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining me here this afternoon. And thank you very much to Beeline Asia for hosting me. This was a result of a conversation we had some weeks back when Lance and Norman met up with me over coffee. And really want to say a big thank you to Beeline Asia for giving me this platform to share with the audience. All right, as you know, our topic today is how to influence anyone by understanding their personality type. Just let me start up my deck. Okay, let me know if you can see it or if you're having trouble.
All good, Chi Sing?
All good, okay. So, how to influence anyone by understanding their personality type. So, the very fact that you're here today, I'm going to assume that you are in a position or you want to be in a position where you need to be influencing people on a daily basis, or at least on a regular enough basis that it matters. In actual fact, we all have our circle of influence. All of us have a certain influence over a certain number of people. You are an influence if you are a parent. You are influenced if you're a sibling. You are an influence if you're a child. That's already your immediate circle of influence. Now, sometimes we might feel that, no, I'm not very influential within my own family, but you might be surprised. You know, there are ways that we influence people that we may not be even aware of. Or you might be in a position of authority. You might be a manager or a C-suite, or I'm not sure how many of you are in leadership positions in a corporate or a company context. But having influence in those contexts is, of course, very, very important, because you need to get buy-in from your subordinates. You need to get buy-in from your peers. You need to get buy-in, especially from your superiors, if you are having a project to manage. And sometimes in large organizations, for example, that can be quite a tricky thing to do, as I'm sure many of you know. You can be influential among your friends. You can be influential among your whatever organizations that you're in. Now, to me, influence does not come from positions of authority, or rather, you do not need necessarily to be in a position of authority to have influence. Now, I've had this conversation with some people before, and there are people who think that, oh, I need to be in an influential position in order to have influence. And that is true. If you are in an influential position, definitely you are in a position to influence others. But what I define as influence is it comes from within you. That you don't even need a position of influence, that you are able to exude a certain influence over the other person. And what I mean by influence is that the other person, when they approach you or you approach them, they feel a connection with you first. Secondly, they feel an affinity with you such that to the point where they feel that they should listen to you, they should take you seriously, and they should really well, depending on the context, of course, it's not in every situation, but they should really follow what you say. And this can be applied in many, many contexts. You don't have to be only in an influential position to be able to do that. You can, there's something called bottom-up leadership as well, where somebody who is in a lower position can have a level of influence such that others in the organization and even his superior position, even people in a superior position would listen to that person. And this is very, very possible. Some people would dispute this, but my argument is always look at Gandhi, look at Martin Luther King. These are people who started from the very bottom. Gandhi was actually, he had become a monk by the time he was a very, but before he became a very, very influential figure in the struggle for Indian independence. Right? Martin Luther King was living in a system of oppression where it was legally the country was legally bound to regard black people as secondary class human beings. So, but within this system, these people had the influence, and not only did they have influence, they had world-changing influence. How do you do that? How do you have this kind of influence? Of course, it comes from a strong sense of yourself, and I won't go into that today. Today, what I'm talking about influence will be more on a very practical level, where anyone can do it simply by understanding the different personality types there are in the world. And today, I'm going to present to you 4 different personality types. Some of you might already know this, in fact, but if you do know this, if you have further questions, drop it in the Q&A section, and then we can discuss it further at the end of the presentation. Let me go to my next. So a little bit about myself, as Norman has already introduced me, so I'll just go through this very briefly. I'm a copywriter by trade. I started out in the advertising industry, and as Norman mentioned just now, I'm also an market authority builder, which means I help people develop thought leadership and brand stories in order to gain authority in the market. And therefore, this is also similar to the talk today, because the reason why we want to develop authority in the market is so that we can have more influence in the market, so that when we do business, it actually paves the way and it makes business easier to do. So you're not cold calling and hitting in the cold market. You're actually developing the market by developing your own brand as an influential authority in the market, so that the market feels a sense of affinity and connection, and so that makes the business process easier. And as I mentioned just now, what is influence? So influence, if you ask me, is based on three things. And these are very, very important and interrelated things. First is relationship, second is communication, and third is empathetic listening. Now, you cannot have influence if you do not have some kind of relationship with your audience. And this not necessarily is a one-to-one personal relationship. If you have a one-to-one personal relationship, that's very good. But influence can also happen on a larger stage where you can have a sort of relationship with your audience. And this is where my own expertise comes in, where we do this through branding, right? So that's why large companies, they do spend a lot of money to invest into branding, like Coca-Cola or Mercedes or any kind of these large companies. When you see these logos, the red logo with the cursive writing, or when you see the circle with the three spikes, you immediately have a sense of connection. You immediately have a feeling inside you the moment you see this. And this is not accidental. This has been carefully crafted, right, over the years to create a relationship between the brand and the market, right? So today we're going to focus on a personal level. How are we going to create a relationship with you and the other person? Secondly, the very, very important thing for personal influence is communication. And this is actually why I put it below relationship, is because it is the foundation of relationship. Communication is the foundation of any good relationship. And I'm sure all of us know relationships break down many times is because there is a breakdown in communication. And a lot of relationships can be repaired or can be very well maintained by good communication. So communication is really key to having relationships. And if you ask me, the foundation of good communication actually starts with empathetic listening. If we are able to hear the other person, really hear the other person, and we can then begin to understand the other person. And when we understand the other person, then we can actually communicate better with the other person. When we communicate better with the other person, then we have a good relationship with the other person. So these are the three foundational, hierarchical foundations that I would say is the overall foundation for having influence with other people. Now, empathetic listening, I want to emphasize one more thing. I'm sure some of you already, or all of you already heard this saying before. A lot of times we listen not to understand, we listen to respond. And as we go into this session today, as we look at the different kind of personality types, I would want you to keep this in mind. That understanding these personality types is not a key for us to respond and hook them in any way. No. The key is to help us to be empathetic listeners. We want to understand these people, the people we are talking to, the people we are dealing with. We want to understand their personality types. We want to understand them in order to know where they're coming from, in order to know how they think, in order to know what their concerns are, and most especially in order to know what their communication styles are, because different kind of personalities have different kind of communication styles. So once we have the understanding, after we have practiced empathetic listening, then we seek to communicate, we seek to connect. And once we have connected, we have the relationship, and that's the beginning of our influence over other people. You might know this saying by Sun Tzu as well. If you know the enemy and you know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. Now, I'm not saying that every interaction we have is like a battle, right? That would be a very negative connotation. But what I'm saying is, the principle here is true. If you know the person you're dealing with, okay, it's not your enemy, but the person you're dealing with, and you know yourself, then you need not fear the result of a 100 battles. What it means here is it's not a guaranteed victory 100% of the time, but your certainty of success is very high because you know how you are going to respond, you know how the other person is going to respond, and you know how to build the bridge because you know these things. If you know certain things that you naturally say will offend the other person, for example, then you understand that, okay, I can actually make a shift to say in a way that the other person can accept. And if that person, for example, says something that offends me, then I know, okay, it's because of his personality type or her personality type, and then I can respond by making a shift and actually understanding, empathetic listening, understanding what and why they are saying it like this, and I can receive it better, and I can have a better response, which will then result in a better interaction. So if you know the other person well and you know yourself well, then you need not fear the result of your interaction, right? You might not have perfect understanding all the time, but your chances of having a very, very good relationship with the other person increases very much. Now, if you know yourself and not the other person, for every victory gained, you also suffer a defeat. Again, this is not like a one-to-one correlation, but this means basically you have a 50-50 chance because you don't know who you're dealing with. You don't know what kind of person they are. So what you say might hit with them, might not hit with them. What you say might they might receive it properly or not receive it properly. You know you have a good intention. The other person might or might not. So it's never certain. If you know neither the enemy or yourself, you will succumb in every battle. Of course, if you don't know what the effect you have on other people, and you neither know how the other person will take what you say, then there's never any certainty, right? And there's a high certainty of failure. And I think all of us know somebody like this, where somehow they offend people and they don't even realize it. I think all of us have somebody in our mind that we know who are like that, right? They're abrasive, they're offensive, but somehow they just don't get it. You know, people feel like that about them. So these are the people in the last category. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, they don't know what their character is like and how the effect they have on other people, and they don't know what the other person, how they are taking how they behave and what they say. Then of course, there will be quite a strong certainty of breakdown in communication in any interaction. Now, I'm going to introduce you the 4 personality types. Some of you might know the 4 personality types. This is actually based on the DISC model, but that is very technical. What I've done today is I've actually simplified it into a military style visual so that it's easy for everyone to understand. All right. So basically, we have the general, we have the ace pilot, we have the sniper, and we have the medic. You observe as I go along, as I describe these characters, I think you can start to have it in your mind already. Maybe even now you already have it in your mind. Who are the generals in your life? These are the very, very clearly the type of people who will take charge, right? The others maybe not so clear, but as we go along, you will probably recognize yourself or some other people in your life in these character types. And what I'll do is I'll explain to you what their character types are and how they respond to communication, and most importantly, how to get through to them. Okay, so if you have some pen and paper, that's very good, then you can start taking notes. Also, I'll be going through this very fast because there's quite a lot of ground to cover. So if you have pen and paper, that will be very, very helpful. So let's go to the first one then. The general. So generals obviously are the take charge type. And these are results-oriented people. all right? And the typical behavior is they're very dominant, they're very strong-willed, they like to take charge, they're very decisive, they're very driven, they're very direct, and they're very confident. And like I said, I'm sure we all know these kind of people in our life. You might be one of them as well. And these are the people who are normally selected to be leaders because why? They are very, very dominant. Strong-willed is very typical of the general type. You will find it very, very difficult to change their mind. And not only is it difficult to change their mind, they do not take lightly to disagreement, right? So these are the kind of people who, if they want your opinion, they'll tell you what your opinion is supposed to be, right? And these are normally the take charge people. So normally people will, yeah, okay, go ahead. You know, they're the, you become the leader. And the good thing about that is decisive, driven, but when they talk, they're very direct. And usually this tends to offend a lot of people. Like I said, I'm sure we know some people who are like that. They have no problem to say whatever is on their mind because they have that kind of confidence, right? And usually, for general type of people, they are motivated by competition. They are motivated by winning. They are motivated by success. So and this is very natural. It's natural for them. Okay, as all these four character types, as I described them to you, I want you to put down any kind of preconceived ideas that you have that they are actually, you know, being purposely difficult or purposely like this or purposely like that. No, it's natural. It's natural. They can control it, direct it in a certain way, but it's natural. It's always there. Okay, so general types are very, very competitive. And you know these kind of people, I'm sure. You go to a bowling or any kind of sports event with them. These are the people who will be captains of the team, and these will be the people who are, okay, you go there, you do this. What is the matter with you? Why are we not winning? Blah, blah, blah. And these are the very loud people. And if the team loses, you will see all the energy sucked out of these people, right? Either the energy is completely sucked out and they're like, oh man, this is not worth my time, or they get very, very upset, you know, and they start taking it out on other people, right? So because they are really driven by winning and they're really driven by success. Success is the number one factor in many of these people. You know, if they start something, they have to finish it, and not only to have to finish it, they have to dominate with success. You know, it's not enough to just win. They have to win in a point that shows that they dominate, right? So this is the general type, very, very dominant. What they value is competence. This is very important because if they look at the person and they judge that that person does not live up to that level of competence that they expect, because they're very direct, they'll dismiss you, right? So this is, I'm sure many of us have experienced this from some people that we know as well. Maybe we ourselves have been dismissed by a dominant kind of person. Well, it's not that they it's not that they willfully look down on you, but it's just that within their character type, within their value system, this is how it works. Competence. If I don't see it at that level that I expect, you're no good to me. Out. Independence is also very big, and these are the people who, if they are your bosses, they'll tell you, get it done by tomorrow. I don't care how. So, if you are the type that feels that you need reassurance, you need guidance, you need to check in and see whether you're doing the right thing or not, so that you make sure you're on the right track, and you have these kind of bosses, I'm very sorry for you. You will never get this support from them. These people will feel very, very irritated. Why are you coming to me with all these questions? I already gave you the task, get it done. I don't care how you do it. I already told you I want it by tomorrow. Some of you might be very familiar with this kind of words. And this is because of their natural character. Their value system is independent. They expect it from themselves. They expect competence from themselves. They expect themselves to get things done by themselves. And they cannot understand why other people are not the same way. It's as simple as that. Okay? And they're very result-oriented. Get it done by tomorrow. I don't care how. Right? So they are not the type that will micromanage you. Some of them might, but a lot of them won't. They just want to see at the end of the day, do you deliver? If you can deliver, you're competent, you're accepted. If you cannot deliver, you're incompetent and you're out. Simple as that. It's for them, this type of person. Now, how do you get buy-in from this dominant type? Well, first of all, don't tell them grandfather stories, grandmother stories. Don't tell them the flowery things that you're doing. Right? They have no patience for all this kind of stuff. Don't tell them the long process that you're very proud that you have actually done so much work. They're not concerned. They don't care. They want the bottom line. If they told you, get it done, and you bring in the report today, and then you want to impress them by saying that, wow, look, I did so much work, they're not impressed. They are not. They're not impressed by how much work you have done. They're impressed whether the work got done and the work got done well or not. That's all. So tell them the bottom line first. Okay? Get to the point fast when you are explaining. So after you tell the bottom line, and if you want to explain further, don't tell them the long, arduous process of all the things that you've done. Give them the bottom line, tell them 1, 2, 3 things that you did maybe. Okay? Get to the point fast when you're explaining, because these people, they're fast, they want results, and they don't have the kind of patience to wait for you to, go through the long process. Okay? Tell them exactly what they want to know. Again, it comes from the lack of patience. If you don't tell them the bottom line fast and you're going through this whole circular process of explanation before you actually get to the point, they'll probably lose interest in like 2 minutes, right? Because what they want to know and you're not getting to the point, you might end up looking incompetent to them, even though you did a very competent job, because in their mind, they make very quick judgments like this. Okay, so get to the point, tell them the bottom line first, get to the point fast if you need to explain, and tell them exactly what they want to know. Now, I have been in meetings before when the CEO asked a question, and the subordinate started to give a long explanation. And in my heart, I'm thinking, okay, just answer his question. Don't need to explain. He wants to know what he wants to know. And sure enough, the CEO, after listening to about 30 seconds of the explanation, asked the question again. And that person, again, okay, thought she needed to explain first before she got to the answer to show that she's been doing a lot of work. And by the third time the question came up and she was still doing this, the CEO had already lost all patience and the rest of the meeting really went to hell, right? Because he didn't get the answer he wanted, and he wasn't in the mood to be nice to her anymore. Right? So this is really key. Focus on solutions, not problems, as I mentioned to you just now. If you are going through a process, if you're having a difficult time handling the task that the boss gave to you, a general type of person, well, it could be a boss, it could be maybe a family member as well. And if you're looking for support, I'm sorry, you're not going to get it. Well, you're going to get something else. You're not going to get support. Okay, so focus on solutions, not problems. Don't come to them and ask, oh, can you let me know how to do this? Can you show me, can you guide me through this? Because why? Remember, they value competence. So when you come to them with questions of, can you help me do this? Can you show me how to do this? Am I on the right track? With every type of question, this type of question that you ask, the estimation of you in his eyes goes down. Because like competence means I give it to you, you settle it, you tell me the result, and the result is good. Every time you ask, is this good enough? Down. Is this the right way to do it? Down. Am I doing this the right way? Down. Can you show me how to do it? Down. Eventually, after a few rounds, okay, you're incompetent, you're not worth this, you're not worth the time. Okay? Be confident and direct. This is very important because they're dominant. if you come and interact with them and you give off the vibe that you are inferior to them, all right? I won't say subordinate because subordinate is a position. But if you give off a vibe that you're inferior to them, that you're afraid of them, of course, their natural character is to dominate, and they will dominate. All right. So don't come to them like with the shoulders in and feeling very meek. No. If you need to stand up to them, they can take it because they have no problem standing up to you and giving to you. So do not have any problem being very confident with them and being very direct with them. They can take it. All right. And always speak in specifics, never speak in generalities, because why? They want the bottom line. If you are giving them a general picture, they don't know what you're talking about. They want the bottom line. Okay, that is generally how you get buy-in from the general type of personality. Now, who are the ace pilots? The ace pilots are the flashy people. Right? Ace pilots like to show off, right? They're flying through, you can't fly in a straight line. They have to go and do some stunts. They have to do some somersaults in the air. They have to break some records. So, and this is the same character type we can observe in the world around us. I'm sure you know some people who are very flashy, who are very flamboyant, who are very extravagant, who are the life of the party, the light of the room. So these are your ace pilot types. So ace pilot types are people-oriented. They like to be around people. They like to get attention from people. They like to connect to people, and usually what happens is, this type of person will walk into a room and they won't wait for people to come to them. They'll go around collecting people. I'm sure you know these kind of people, right? They go around the room in a party and they start collecting people. They'll walk to this person, speak, and then okay, then they'll drag the first person to meet the second person, and then they'll drag the third person into the group, and pretty soon, like within 2 minutes, there'll be a small group having a really, really great time in the room. So these are super friendly people. These are very expressive people. They talk very loud, they laugh very loud, and everything is a joke to them, everything can be made funny. Even if it's not funny, they'll say something and they'll think it's very funny, they'll laugh very loud, and because they're super friendly, they're super expressive, everybody laughs together with them. And they're very fun to be with. They're very enthusiastic, and people catch that enthusiasm, they catch the energy. And they can be very persuasive, right? I'm sure you know this kind of people. You can be having coffee with them and they say, hey, I think we should go to Genting, because it's so boring here. Let's go for a weekend. And before you know it, you've already got a few friends together and you've already arranged a weekend trip to Genting, just like that, and you're gone. And this is because they're very impulsive. And because they're impulsive, they're usually not very detailed, because the ideas come just like that. Oh, I want to have this. This is really fun. It comes just like that. But they won't put in the brain power to actually think the consequences or how you're going to plan it. Okay, I'll go in a bit more into more detail a bit later. These people are normally also very trusting. They're very open-hearted, right? Because they like to make friends with everybody. So naturally, they're very trusting. They open their hearts to everybody. All right. And why they dare to open their hearts to everybody? Because naturally, they're very optimistic. They have a very optimistic view of the world. They like to think good about everybody. They like to think that things will turn out to be well. They like to think that, okay, if I'm happy, then the world should be happy together with me. All right. So these are the ace pilot types, the very flashy, flamboyant, people-oriented, very fun type of people. And the ace pilot types are usually motivated by praise, recognition. I have a student, and my wife couldn't get along with this girl. She's, I think, only about 8, 7, I can't remember now. That was some time ago. So my wife can't get along with this student of mine because this student is, when she's doing her work, she seems to lack concentration, she seems to lack motivation, And my wife is saying, okay, look at this, look at this, look at this, and the girl was just. So what happened was I looked at her, and because she had been studying with me for some time, so I've been observing her. So I realized that she is this ace pilot type of character. So I just went up to her and said, okay, look at this. Wow, very good. You did this sum. Okay, now look at the next sum. Amazing. Wow, amazing. Let's do the next sum. Very good. Let's do the next sum. And just like that, because every single question that she answered, I gave her praise, I gave her recognition. She just became very, very motivated to do the next one, do the next one, do the next one, do the next one. Because why? Because every sum that she did, she get praise and recognition, and she craves more of that. So she keep doing it. She keep doing it to get more. And in the end, she finished the piece of homework very fast. And this is a story that's true. It's a true story. So these kind of characters, they crave. It's not like, it's crave. It's like a need, praise and recognition. And they like energetic interaction. These are high energy people. And if you come to them and you talk like this, and you start to give them this kind of energy, I can tell you, they will find you very boring within the first few minutes. They will start looking around, where's the next fun person I can talk to, right? So if you want to connect with these people, you have to at least match the same level of energy. Maybe a little less is acceptable, but not too far below. You have to be the same or more. The higher your energy, the more excited they will be to be together with you. All right, and they are motivated by relationships. They always like to feel connected to other people. So that's why when these people come into the room, they start collecting people, and pretty soon, within a couple of minutes, there'll be a small group, surrounding this person. You know these kind of people. You've seen them before. So what do they value? They value the personal touch. They don't like to talk about abstract ideas. They don't like to talk about facts and figures. They don't like to talk about things that have too many details, right? They like the personal touch. So for example, if you're selling a car to them, right? If you're selling a car to these flashy kind of people, and you come and show them, okay, our promotion price is this much, and we're offering this much, and then based on this much, once we have all the discounts in place, then you get this much, and then plus our taxes and this one. All these details, they're actually not interested, right? What they want is personal touch. Go up to them, be their friend, match their energy. Are you buying a car? Oh wow, what do you need this for? Oh, I understand. You need to fetch your kids around. Wow, that must be tiring. Oh my God, yes, I can totally get you. Personal touch, right? And then when they feel the connection with you, wow, you got it made. They value individuality. They are very self-expressive. Flamboyant people, normally you will see them dressed very well. Mostly in bright colors, because they need to express all the energy that is inside of them, right? And so, and because they're very spontaneous, very impulsive, they really value individuality. So people who just, okay, I'll just do whatever. These are very dull people to them, right? I'll just go with the majority. Oh man, don't you have an opinion for yourself? Why are you always following other people? So those kind of conversations will be playing in their mind. And as I mentioned, they are very expressive, and they want the freedom to express. You cannot stop them. I'm sure you know, when these people start talking, it's very, very hard for people to get a word sideways in or to actually stop them from talking. If you successfully stop them from talking, most likely you have already hurt their feelings. Because why? They want the freedom to express. They must have the freedom to express. They must be able to express themselves, and not only to express themselves, they must be able to fully, freely, and completely express themselves. It's like a railroad train, right? It just comes out of their mouth until they decide to stop, then they stop. If you ever stop it halfway, you probably have lost them. Now, how do you get buy-in from the ace pilot type? Let them talk about themselves. That is their favorite subject, right? They love to talk about their experiences. They love to talk about the places they've been. They love to talk about where they've gone shopping, the things that they've bought. All right. Let them talk about themselves. Take it one step further. Talk about them. Wow, you have a fantastic new ring. I didn't notice that. I didn't notice you wearing it the other time. So wow, you notice something about them. Amazing. They will love you for it. Don't interrupt or criticize, as I mentioned just now, because they feel a tremendous need to fully express themselves. Don't interrupt them. Don't criticize them. Especially don't criticize them in public, because they have a tremendous need to be liked. They have a tremendous need to feel positive. They want to be optimistic. They have a strong sense of connection to people. So if you interrupt them, you are basically giving them the message that what they are saying is not important to you, right? Because you're cutting off their self-expression. If you criticize them, same thing. Oh man, you are bringing down my sense of self. Because my sense of self is to fully express. If you criticize what I fully express, that means you're cutting away of who I am, right? If you criticize them in public, oh my gosh, because why? They feel a sense of connection. So not only are you cutting away their sense of self, you are diminishing them in the eyes of other people. That's what they think. You might not have the intention, but that's what they will feel. So this is where we mentioned just now, if you neither know yourself or you know the other person, then every encounter will be a failure. So you might not have the intention when you speak to that person, but the way these ACE pilot types receive it can be very, very different from what we intend. You want to connect with them, share your personal story, because they're very personable people. They like friends. Be positive and high energy, as I mentioned. Focus on dreams and possibilities, because these are very impulsive, spontaneous people. So they have fantastic ideas, especially ideas how to have fun. So focus on dreams, focus on possibilities. If you're selling cars, if you're selling a car to them, focus on how all the fun things they can do in the car, right? It's not about buying a car, it's about buying a lifestyle. It's about buying the possibilities of what you can do in this car, the fun that you can have, right? And give them as few details as necessary. Because why? They're spontaneous people. Details are boring, right? Details are boring. And this is also where some people who are very detailed and they're talking to the ACE pilot type, and then the ACE pilot type, I don't want to hear this anymore, you're boring me. Well, it's not a judgment on the detailed person. It's just this type of character is how they function, is how they process information. So they cannot handle details. They cannot handle loads of information. It gets boring, and if it continues, it gets tiring, and if it continues, it gets frustrating. And then it comes to a point they'll just completely shut down. They'll completely shut down. So as few details as possible, just give them dreams and possibilities, all the things good things that can happen. Okay? Then you have the medic. Now the medic types are the very supportive people. These are feelings-oriented people also. Right? Because why are they very supportive? Because they always like to feel like a sense of connectedness. They always like to feel needed. They always like to feel a sense of fulfillment. Very, very feelings oriented. So the typical behavior of the medic type is very calm, very stable. They're very dependable, very loyal. These are the best friends that you ever have. Right? If you need a shoulder to cry on, yes, calm and stable, they will listen to you. You need a friend to help you in any move your house or fix your car. Yes, these are your dependable and loyal friends. If you need a good worker, yes, dependable, loyal, and passive and submissive. They will say yes to everything. Everything you ask them to do, they will say yes. Right? Because why? They want to please. They love to please. And because of this, normally these are the friend zone guys, right? These are people who are forever in the friend zone. These are not the flashy people because those will get the girls or get the guys. These are not the general type dominant people because yeah, okay, you know, some girls or some guys are attracted to that kind of character. But these are your invisible people. You know, the invisible guys and girls that they don't come out. They don't come out to the forefront. They rather be at the back. You know, they're passive, they're submissive. When they're needed, yes, they want to please, and then they're very dependable and very loyal, and they can be very encouraging and supportive. And they're very patient. Right? A lot of things can happen to them. A lot of things can be said to them that's very offensive, but they'll be like, it's okay, don't make a big deal out of it. It's okay, right? And they're very warm and giving. So, yeah, typical friend zone types. So if you want to, and the medic types, they are usually motivated by opportunity to help, right? So in a large group, for example, if somebody asks for volunteers, usually they won't volunteer because why? They don't like to stand out. They won't volunteer. But if you approach them personally and ask them privately, I would say probably 90–95% of the time they will say yes. Even if they are overwhelmed, they will say yes. Right? And if they are overwhelmed, they are very patient. They are very resilient. If they're overwhelmed, they will go to one side and suffer by themselves and try and get everything done by themselves. All right? They won't say anything. They won't ask for help. Because why? They are motivated by the desire to help. So they won't ask for help. Okay? And when they are really, really overwhelmed, usually what happens is passive-aggressive behavior comes up. Right? And I'm sure you know what that is. You know, you see somebody is overwhelmed and say, "Are you okay?" "It's okay, I know what I'm doing." You know, that kind of behavior. Now only you ask, why don't you ask earlier? You know, these are the passive-aggressive behaviors that signal that they are really completely overwhelmed. But they appreciate sincere appreciation, and this a very simple word of acknowledgement can really make their day. You don't have to buy them extravagant gifts. You just have to let them know that you notice what they're doing and you really appreciate what they do, and that means a lot to them, and that will get them through the day. All right, and they like being included and supported. Right, they won't stand out. They're not the type that will. In fact, they like to fade into the background as much as possible. But they also really appreciate when somebody comes and includes them and supports them. And these are the type who will usually ask, "Am I doing the right thing? Am I executing this task correctly? Can you give me guidance on this?" And I'm sure some of you recognize yourself in this, or you recognize other people who have come to ask you these questions. And this type usually clash with the general type, because the medic type likes to be included and supported. The general type likes you to be independent. Don't come to me with all these questions. So these two normally are opposing characters, and they normally don't get along. Okay. Of course, general types don't show you appreciation. I tell you to do means you get it done. Right? Don't come back to me and bother me. So what do the medic types value? They value loyalty, right? Because they don't demand much from people. When people give back to them, it's very, very precious. It's very, very appreciated, highly appreciated. And when people give back to them to the point where it's clear that you're being loyal, you're a loyal friend, you're somebody who stands by them, you will be incredibly appreciated. They value security and stability. They don't like to rock the boat. That's why they always stay in the background. They don't like to come out, make new suggestions, because that will rock the boat. They like security, stability. So stay into the background, just go with the flow. No, don't rock the boat. Don't upset anyone. Security and stability is one of the greatest things they value. And then what else do they value? They value acceptance. Like I mentioned just now, they like being included and supported. They don't like to stand out, but they do value acceptance. It's not that they remove themselves from the crowd. It's just that they want to be part of the crowd, but they just don't want to be outstanding in the crowd. They want to be part of the group, but they don't want to be, the mover and shaker and the loud people in the group. They rather be in the background and just enjoy being with people, right? And they are very sensitive whether they sense people accepting them or not accepting them, right? So a simple thing like just putting your arm around the person and say, hey, come, let's have dinner together, and asking them to join the group. That is very, very much appreciated by the medic type of people. Now, how do you get buy-in? Be friendly, personal, open. Especially don't dominate. If you dominate, the natural natural response is to resist. Right? Be friendly, personal, open. Be sincerely interested about them. Be clear and consistent about what you expect of them. And this is where I say it conflicts with the general type, because the general type is go and get it done. I don't care how you get it done. But the medic type, they want clear, consistent instructions about what you expect. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. Am I doing this? Affirm me. Am I doing this? Affirm me. I need to feel it. Am I doing this? Affirm me. I need to feel it. Which is something they will hardly get from the general types. Okay? Be patient to provide clarification, as what I explained just now. Be positive and affirming. Be polite and sensitive. This is the key word. Be polite and sensitive, because they are polite and sensitive. They process the world through this way, because they themselves are polite and sensitive, because they don't want to offend people. They like to be liked by other people. They like to be accepted by other people. So they're always polite and sensitive to other people. So they also want it reciprocated. They also want to experience other people being polite and sensitive to them, right? So when you're polite and sensitive to them, they will start to have a stronger connection with you. And most of all, avoid aggression or confrontation. This one is a real key, as I mentioned several times before. Because of their sensitive type, aggression or confrontation will not get results. Usually what happens is they'll shrink back. They continue shrinking because they themselves will avoid aggression and confrontation, right? So, and this is again another case where the general types often conflict with the medic types. Because why? When the general types speak out, they have no problem speaking out. They have no problem confronting you. They have no problem having an aggressive tone. Because to them, what matters is the result. I want the answer, give me the answer now. But when you come like this to the medic type, the reaction will be to maybe try and explain, but because the general type doesn't care about explanation, maybe try to be polite, but the general type doesn't appreciate politeness that much. He wants a direct answer. So 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, try to be nice, friendly, and explanation, give a good explanation, try to be calm. If that doesn't work, because the medic types are not confrontational, they'll shrink back. And this is where the problem becomes. Because as the medic type shrinks back, the general type will start to think that this person is not answering my question. This person is not demonstrating any level of confidence to me. This person is not showing me any level of competence. So I need to get in more and get the answers that I want. So the aggressive tone will increase. The demanding tone will increase. The confrontation will increase in intensity. But when that happens, the medic type will continue to shrink back. So it becomes a negative loop. The cycle goes down and down and down, and that's where you have a lot of very, very difficult conversations of this type. I'm sure all of us have experienced this type of conversation before, or many of us, if not all of us. Okay, so it's very important to understand who we are dealing with, so that we can understand how to bridge the communication. Then we can have more influence over the other person. Excuse me. Now, the final type I'm going to share with you is called a sniper. Why I call it the sniper? Because these are very careful people. They don't go around spraying their mouth off like a machine gun, right? They're not like the shotgun mouth of the general, bam, big explosion, and there's a big hole where he was. The snipers are very careful people. They think carefully. They get all their process in order. They line up everything. They plan everything before they take their shot. All right, and these are the characters. We also see a lot of them around us. These are the very, very careful people. These are the people who won't take any action until they have an entire process planned out in their mind. And a lot of times, these look like indecisiveness. A lot of people look at them and say, "Wow, you take forever to make a decision." Right? It's not that they take forever to make a decision. Sometimes, yes, they take forever to make a decision, but it's because something is happening in their mind. They have not gotten the final answer to the entire chain of questions that they have created in their mind about a situation, right? So, to certain people, you just need one or two questions to arrive at the answer, but to the sniper side, one or two questions will branch out to another 3 or 4 questions, and those 3 or 4 questions will branch out to maybe another 7 or 8 questions, and he needs to find all the answers before he feels confident to take a step forward. All right, and that's what slows him down. Because why? Sniper types are very process oriented. They need to figure out the entire process before they feel comfortable doing anything or saying anything. And so their typical behavior is they're very, very analytical. They're very cautious. They're very, very reserved. You won't see them being spontaneous very much. They will be more, they will be the people who question, right? So, for example, somebody makes a suggestion. So, a big suggestion. Okay, let's go for a holiday to Pulau Tioman. We go for a beach holiday. So these will be the people when, how many, who is going to go? Are we going to bring family? Or are we going to be a single trip? How many days? Which hotel are we staying? Are there enough rooms for all of us here? Are all of us here going, or only some of us? Who among here can go? Which day is available? Let's make a chart, right? Then we'll analyze and we'll compare all the dates and then we'll figure it out. Okay? Because they're very systematic. They have to think like that, otherwise they won't even consider saying yes. Other people might have already said yes, this is a good idea, let's do it. But these are the people who will be having all these questions and trying to figure it all out before they say yes or no, right? And they're very objective. They focus on facts. They don't like to deal with abstract ideas. They don't like to deal with, what if. They don't like to deal with this could happen, this might happen. Let's do it first. Let's go first and figure out later. No, they are very, very objective, very focused on facts. What is it you want? What is it exactly you're saying? What is it that exactly do you mean? How exactly are we going to do it? Facts, precise. They value systems over results. Because to the sniper side, if the systems are not properly in place, you are not going to get the result. Right? So they don't focus on the results as much as they focus on the systems. And normally these are I think you all know, those people who are very analytical, they're very private people. They're very quiet. They're not flamboyant, they're not talkative. So what are sniper types usually motivated by? They're motivated by opportunities to learn. Even though they are very, very quiet people, when opportunity comes for them to learn something, they will very, very eagerly participate, right? They're motivated by the opportunity to share expertise. So if you give them a platform for them to show what they know, to share what they know, very likely they will be happy to do so. They are motivated by quality of work. Now, who defines quality of work? They themselves define quality of work, right? They have an internal standard, and usually it's a very high standard. So you can tell them, wow, you did a fantastic job there, but they will still look at it, nah, I don't think so. wasn't good enough, right? Because they have a very high internal quality of work. And sometimes this irritates people, and this especially irritates the ace pilot type of people, because like ace pilot type of people are flamboyant, spontaneous, highly motivated by interpersonal connection. And this one is like, okay, if you want to go, if you have this great, fantastic idea of going on a trip somewhere, what are the details that we need to plan? It's just like, no, I'm talking about ideas. What are you talking about plans? It's so dull, it's so boring. Okay? And then if the flamboyant ace pilot person comes, hey, you did a fantastic job, it's not amazing. No, I don't think so. No, it could be better. So to the ace pilot side, oh man, I just took out my heart and gave it to you, and you threw it back to my face. I gave you a compliment, and you say it's not good. So this is very complex. Usually happens because the sniper types are the opposite of the ace pilot type, right? And usually a lot of conflict happens there. Yeah, quality of work, back to that. So they have a very high internal quality. So, and it also causes them to look at other people differently, right? So they might be dismissive of other people's work, even though other people feel that they have done a good job, but because of their own high internal quality standards, they might be dismissive of other people. They value accuracy. Don't give them abstract ideas, give them the facts and back up your facts. And make sure the backup of your facts are dependable. Don't quote them Wikipedia or some blog somewhere. All right. If you quote them from Wikipedia or some blog somewhere, okay, where did this blog get their information from? Is that source dependable? Wikipedia, what's the citation down there? Is it a blog? No, out. They have to be dependable. Data is very important to them. They want to know everything there is to know about something, and they value objectivity. It is always about the task. It is always about the issue. It is always about the thing. It's not about feeling. It's not about people. It's not about anything. They are very, very clear what is the real focus. What is the real objective? And if they find other people are not being as objective as they are, usually it gets very irritating to them, and they'll just dismiss, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. So how do you get buy-in with the sniper type? Focus on facts and details. This one, yes, you need to focus on facts and details, and you need to have it at your fingertips, because they will ask. And because of how their mind works, they will ask in a way that is very deep, very penetrating. So if you have the facts and details in your hand, and they ask to a level where you don't have any more facts and details, they might excuse you if it's like 3 or 4 levels down. But if it is like 1 or 2 levels down, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, I'm just 2 levels down and you already don't know the answer. Dismiss. Okay, focus on the facts and details, have it all in your hand, as much as possible, as deep as possible, as wide as possible, because they will have a lot of answers. They will have a lot of questions. Prove your expertise and knowledge, right? It's good to have case studies when you're talking to them. Then it becomes believable. Then they will see that, oh, you're not just all theory, you have experience, and you know what you're talking about, because from experience you get insight, and from insight you get deeper knowledge, right? So you have to prove your expertise and knowledge. You have to be patient and to explain in detail, as I mentioned just now. They will ask very, very wide, very, very deep. Avoid using emotional language, and this is very important, right? Because they are focused on things, they are focused on issues, they are focused on the task, they focus on systems. What has emotion got to do with all this? Emotions has nothing to do with all this. So if you use emotional language, it becomes very annoying. It becomes irritating. Emotion has nothing to do with this task that we're trying to get done. So if you come in I used to be the president of my Kumon Instructors Association, and one of the committee members was the ace pilot type, very flamboyant. And so we had a task going on. It was quite a large task, and she was in charge of it. And she brought a lot of emotion into it, which I appreciated to a certain way because that brought in a lot of energy into the success of the project. But at the same time, I found myself getting annoyed at times because of all the emotion, right? Okay, by now, me telling you this story, probably you know that I'm this type of person, right? I get annoyed because focus on the task, right? And all this emotion surrounding the task is annoying. I don't want to handle the emotion. I want to handle the task, right? So it becomes very annoying. So avoid using emotional language. Avoid getting emotional. Avoid rah-rah pep talks especially. Because this works with the A pilots. You rah-rah and they get really hyped up. But to the sniper type, this is annoying. It's nothing to do with what we want to do. Be steady, calm, persistent. And you have to convince them with superior data because in their mind, they've already actually figured out a lot of things. Even on the spot, sometimes they can figure out a lot of things. And if you cannot convince them with superior data, they will say that, okay, you don't know what you're talking about. Right? Even with my little knowledge, I already know this much. I already figured out this much, and you don't look like you know what you're talking about. Unless you can present some superior data or some superior insight. Okay, I get it. Then they will they won't submit to you, but they will acknowledge you. They will acknowledge, okay, you're right. I acknowledge you and I will follow what you say. And always have a complete plan and process. You cannot come to them with just an idea and say, let's do this. No. You come to them with an idea and they will have a million questions to ask you how to get it done. So have a complete plan and process. Because if you don't have a complete plan and process, you will be dismissed as somebody incompetent. This is the same situation. I would refer you back to what I told you about the CEO and the staff, the example I gave you just now, right? So that CEO wants to see a complete plan and process in place. Whether you hit it or don't hit it, or whether you are able to follow the plan and process 100%, doesn't matter. He wants to see it in place, and if you cannot achieve it 100%, or if you're going sideways for some reason, it's okay, right? We plan again, and we come up with a new process, and we'll execute that process, right? And problem happens when that subordinate didn't have a plan like this ready, and the meeting becomes nasty then. Okay, so those are the 4 personality types. And I think the important question, as I mentioned right from the start of the presentation, is we have to know ourselves and we have to know the other person. So which type are you? And that is really the key, the first key to successful interaction. So once you understand this, then you can actually place yourself here. So none of us are. We are a spectrum. We are not fully one type or another type, but we are a spectrum. It depends where your needle points, right? Your needle can go around this circle, and even in different types, in different times of your life, you can have different. You can actually change your character type as you mellow or as you change your character through experience. So we are a spectrum. Don't expect yourself to be fully falling into one type of character or another. We are most likely a mix of 2 characters. Okay, but you can see that the opposing quadrants are usually don't get along well, as I mentioned just now. Okay, so keep this in mind in trying to figure out yourself and figure out other people. Okay, so now that you know the 4 personality types, you are ready to start going out there and making a difference. Okay, So I hope this has, that's the end of the presentation for today. I know I've overrun time about 10 minutes, I'm sorry. But I hope that this is enough to actually get you started on your journey to actually start understanding people more, learning how to listen to them more empathetically so that you can communicate better with them, have a better relationship with them, and ultimately having more influence over them. Okay? Okay, thank you. Let's see whether we have some questions.
Yeah, that was really good. Now I know this. You can actually militarize the personality type. Okay, there are a few questions that came in towards throughout the whole session. So the first question is, does dominant more qualified to be a boss or a leader? I think what he means is that does the dominant quality qualifies you more to be a boss or a leader?
I'm not necessarily. I would say the dominant type are looked upon more as leaders because they are the dominant type. They naturally take charge. They naturally want to be in control, right? And it's natural to let them be leader because why? Partly because they won't allow anyone else to say anything. They are the ones that are talking. So in sort of a natural way, they become leaders and they become acknowledged as leaders. But I think leadership needs more than dominance. Dominance can help as a leader, but leadership needs more. Leadership needs buy-in from other people. You need followers to be a leader, right?
Right.
And if people are not willing to follow you, yeah, if you have a position and you're dominant, well, it will come to a certain point. If people feel bad enough, they will either revolt or they'll abandon ship. Right? So it may help, it might not help, but there is the case where it's normally dominant people normally look upon as leaders.
That's right. Okay, the next question is, since leadership has few dynamics, can we say best leadership practice is to change the leadership style according to certain circumstances without emotional influence or influencing a decision?
If you can change your personality style to fit the situation, I would put you maybe in the top 1% of leaders in the world. Because it is a skill. And it's a learned skill. My natural is to be a medic type and the sniper type. That's my natural. But in some situations, especially in crisis situations, I find myself that if I need to drive something, I could push myself to the general position, right, the dominant position. But what happens is I find it very tiring because that's not natural, right? Or sometimes if a situation needs some kind of rah thing, okay, I could push myself to that to suit the situation. But again, it feels very draining because that's not who I naturally am. So on some days when I'm pushed to those situations, you just go home and vegetate in front of the TV because I'm just so drained. But if you can do it, it is a very good skill to have. But you need to understand the four quadrants well, all right? And you need to understand the crowd around you well so that you can adapt yourself.
Right. Okay, I think this is also related to that question. Okay, I'm being the medic sniper type. It is really good to understand that my boss is the general type. Is it really good?
Okay, hold on. I'm running a battery here.
Sorry. Right, can you hear me?
Can you repeat the question?
Okay, so the question is that if he knows that he's a medic sniper type, is it really good to understand that my boss is the general type?
Yes, it is. Because why? Once you recognize yourself and you recognize the other person, then you can actually start to think how to develop the bridge in the communication. Let me tell you a true story. I have been brought in to rescue a video script writing project. because the previous writer couldn't get along and couldn't get what the client wanted. So she gave up and she passed the job to me. So when I went there actually under another company. And what happened was when I met the client for the first time, the client was just downloading all his frustrations, you know, and saying, your company is like this, your company is like this, blah, 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 blah. And I was actually very annoyed. Why? I'm meeting you for the first time. Why are you, you know, placing all this blame on me? But the thing is, I trimmed down my annoyance and I just started to listen to him and I started to get an image. Okay, this is the kind of person he is. These are the kinds of things that he wants to hear, right? Empathetic listening. These are the type of things he's looking for, right? These are the things he doesn't want. These are the things that he wants. So after 15 minutes of him ranting, I started to speak, and because I listened to him without judgment, I listened to him without feeling offended because I know his character type. And then I started to speak to him in a way that he could understand. And that's the most important key. You have to speak in a way that the other person understands, that the other person's personality type can accept. So after I spoke to him, and then about, I think 5-10 minutes later, you can see him, he's visibly calming down because he's hearing the things that he wants to hear, and he's hearing it in the way that he wants to hear it, right? So, and thereafter, I mean, I wouldn't say that the project was easy. He was a difficult person to work with, but I didn't come to the point where I felt like I give up and give the job to somebody else. So it works. You can actually, every personality type has strengths and weaknesses. So if you can identify your personality type strengths and adapt it to communicate with the other person, build that bridge to the other person, it's actually very, very powerful.
Right. And then we can connect with this question here after you explain that is, how can we judge the customer or the people we speak to already shows a sign of buying in on our presentation?
Oh, okay. Well, this is actually a whole other topic already because,
right.
But there are certain ways. Like for example, if you understand the personality types well enough, certain ways they speak. For example, for my type, let's say the sniper type, if they ask questions 1, 2, 3, and they continue to ask, that means they are still interested, right? Otherwise, if they already judge you as don't know what you're talking about, they'll stop asking already. They don't want to know anymore. You're not worth listening to, right? For the dominant type, if you see them starting to get riled up, okay, it's time to listen what they want to hear, right? Because if they're riled up, that means they're not getting the answers that they want. So you have to recognize this behavior cues from the person you're talking to.
Right. Okay, the next question is, putting aside on the negative part behavior, do you think that the dominant type of person might still have a chance to learn the skill to be a good and better leader?
Yes. I mean, we are naturally born into these types, personality types, but we can always learn, right? Honestly, I used to be more dominant than what I am now. So, but over the years, I've mellowed down, you know, and because I've learned communication, communications knowledge like this. I've learned about leadership. I've learned about all the other things. So all that accumulated knowledge plus the life experience have actually mellowed me down a lot. So I'm quite a different person from previously. So yes, it is possible for dominant types to learn. Basically, I think the most important thing is to learn how to put down our own ego, right? Because if we hold on to our ego, that ego will tell us that we are always right, and that is always a barrier to learning. That is always a barrier to communication.
Right. Okay. Vincent Choi has a very interesting question because we've learned all the personality types, right? She's saying, so he wants to ask you this question: what personality type easy kena phishing or scam?
Most likely the sniper type won't, because they will ask a lot of questions and along the way they'll figure out this is a scam. Dominant type, maybe, depending on how skillful the other person is, but online, maybe not. Because dominant type, they need to feel to dominate. They need to feel like they dominate. So this kind of interaction is like, nothing, you know. So I would say most likely is the medic type. Because why? They're very helpful. They're very sensitive. So you send them a sob story. If they're not careful, they get sucked into the sob story. Oh yeah, oh my God, so pitiful. Yeah, but they send you $200 to help you with your cancer treatment, you know. Yeah, so probably that.
Right.
Or maybe even the ace pilot, you know, because they are very flamboyant, they're not detail oriented. So maybe that as well.
Okay. Next question, right? We can you mentioned just now that we can show different personality types, right? There is, right? So are there any chance we would have a combination of these personality types? One of the attendees sent in the question, I can identify my different traits in some personality types here.
Yep.
So is there a way is there a dominant personality type?
Yes.
That dominates all of the traits?
Normally you have one dominant and one secondary, but you might have all four. But we normally operate from one dominant and one secondary. Like for me, my dominant is sniper, the sniper type. My secondary is the my dominant. Correct. My dominant is the sniper type. My secondary is the medic type. So, but like I mentioned just now, as the situation comes, I might shift to different personality types. So the key is to really identify which one, and I think all of us will know. Actually, you know, it's not a stranger. The confusion might happen between what's my primary, what is my secondary. If you look at the slide here, as I mentioned just now, we are actually a spectrum, right? Most likely we are a mixture of two.
Right. Great. Okay, Chiseng, we are actually running out of time.
Yeah.
So my next question is that with all this information that you've actually provided us today, is that something that we can actually use to create viral content?
Audience question,
No. That's my question to you.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Actually, yes. Because the best kind of writing happens when you understand who you're writing to. So, in order to understand who you're writing to, well, it helps a lot if you understand their personality type. So this actually helps me in my viral writing. Well, I wouldn't call it viral writing, but it helps me a lot in my writing as well. So, for example, if I'm writing to millennials, for example, so if I have a picture of the millennials in my mind, of course, I can't cover every single millennial in the world, but if I have a certain concrete picture of a millennial in my mind, what kind of personality, you know, how do they dress, how do they talk, and all that, yeah, that really helps a lot. Because why? Then it becomes easier to speak in a language the audience accepts. It's easier to be able to write in a way that's connecting to the audience, and it's easier to write in a conversation instead of just being very, you know, just putting down a list of points that I need to write down.
Right.
Yeah.
Which brings me to your next webinar, which is on the 22nd of September, right? So for all the attendees that are attending today, right, if you want to know more about how to craft out a viral content, Chiseng is going to share with us his secrets, right, on the 22nd. So yeah, so I'm going to display the EDM on the screen right now. You can actually scan the barcode to register for the next upcoming webinar on the 22nd of September. It's at 2 p.m. as well. And he's going to share with us on the 7 reasons why people share content according to research, the 4 features found in all viral content based on evidence, and the 5 steps to create highly engaging and shareable content from my experience, as in Chiseng's experience, right? So yeah, I hope you guys will join us again on the 22nd, because this is today's session is really enlightening to me, and I hope it did the same for you guys. Right, Chiseng, any last words before we call it a day for today?
No, I mean, I'm just thank you for everyone to be here, and thank you to Vilan and Norman and Lance for giving me the opportunity to speak. I really appreciate it, actually, because yeah, I've had all these knowledge floating around in my mind for a long time, and I just wanted to share it. And you guys came along, and I think it's really what's the word, serendipitous meeting we had the other day at the coffee place.
Thank you so much, Chiseng. For all of those who are around, also scan the QR code that is displayed on the screen. We will appreciate your feedback so we can improve on our presentation as well as our webinars for the future, as well as we apologize for any technical difficulties that we faced today. We will be sending you the slides as well as today's recording via emails that you've registered with us, right? So we'll catch you on the 22nd. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending today's webinar.
Thank you for being here.